whispering shadows. It had been years since my sister Emma was admitted to the mental asylum. An unsettling darkness seemed to have engulfed her, tearing apart the vibrant soul I once knew. I was finally granted permission to visit her, and the mere thought of reuniting with her after all this time filled me with both excitement and dread. The asylum stood at the outskirts of town, surrounded by tall, looming trees that seemed to reach out for anyone who dared approach. As I stepped inside, the air felt heavy, suffocating almost. The sound of clanging doors and distant cries echoed throughout the cold, sterile halls. A sense of despair hung in the air like a thick fog, and I couldn't help but feel a chill down my spine. Despite my best efforts to appear composed, my trembling hands gave away my anxiety. I followed a nurse who led me to a dimly lit room where Emma awaited me. She sat in a corner, her hair disheveled, her eyes hollow, and her body swaying ever so slightly. When she saw me, a flicker of recognition passed through her eyes before they retreated to a faraway place. I rushed forward and embraced her tightly, hoping that my touch could bring her back from the abyss. "Emma, it's me, your sister," I said softly, searching for a spark of recognition in her eyes. But all she did was whisper incomprehensible words, as if speaking to an unseen entity that had taken refuge within her mind. Over the next few visits, I noticed a pattern. Every time I arrived at the asylum, I sensed an ominous presence lurking in the shadows. Strange occurrences followed me, such as doors slamming shut on their own, and eerie whispers that I could never quite make out. One evening, I arrived to find Emma in a state of sheer terror. She clutched the edges of her bed, her knuckles white, and her eyes wide with fright. "They're here," she hissed, her voice laced with fear. "Who's here, Emma? What are you talking about?" I questioned, glancing around the room anxiously. "The shadows. They speak to me, torment me," she replied, her gaze fixed on a dark corner of the room. "They won't let me leave. They won't let you leave either." I attempted to reassure her, but her fears seemed too overwhelming for any logical reasoning. That night, as I lay in bed trying to sleep, I heard faint whispers from the hallway. The voices sounded distant, yet unsettlingly familiar, like echoes from another realm. Unable to shake off the feeling that something was amiss, I decided to explore the asylum during visiting hours. I stumbled upon an old janitor named Mr. Andrews, who had been working there for decades. He spoke in hushed tones, cautioning me about the sinister history of the asylum. "This place is cursed," he said, his voice quivering. "They say it was built on an ancient burial ground. The tormented souls of the deceased still wander here, seeking solace, but finding only darkness." My heart pounded in my chest as I absorbed his chilling tale. Mr. Andrews continued. "Some staff members claim to have seen shadows moving about, whispering to each other, plotting their revenge on the living. People have vanished without a trace, and the echoes of their torment can still be heard in these halls." Intrigued and fearful, I delved deeper into the asylum's past, seeking answers to the shadows that haunted both my sister and me. As the days passed, I became obsessed with uncovering the truth, convinced that doing so would free Emma from her torment. One night, guided by an eerie glow, I followed a trail of flickering lights to a hidden room in the basement. Inside, I found an old journal that belonged to a former patient. The pages were filled with tales of horror and madness, recounting encounters with malevolent shadows and their insidious whispers. As I read through the journal, the walls around me seemed to come alive. Faint whispers surrounded me, growing louder and more menacing with each passing moment. Panic washed over me, and I tried to leave, but the door slammed shut, trapping me inside the suffocating darkness. The shadows swirled around me, their whispers intertwining into a cacophony of malevolent voices. I could no longer distinguish reality from illusion. Time lost its meaning as I spiraled deeper into madness, haunted by the same forces that held my sister captive. Days or weeks may have passed. I could no longer tell. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the whispers ceased, and the shadows retreated. I found myself back in Emma's room, disoriented and unsure if the events I experienced were real or mere hallucinations. But something had changed. I could now understand the whispers that had once haunted me. They spoke of sorrow, loss, and the desperate yearning to be free from the shackles of this cursed place. With newfound determination, I vowed to break the malevolent hold that the asylum had on its inhabitants. I sought the help of paranormal experts and spiritual guides, all of whom advised me on ancient rituals to cleanse the asylum of its dark past. During a moonless night, we gathered in the very room where I had uncovered the journal. Candles flickered as we chanted incantations, invoking positive energy to drive away the malevolence that clung to the walls. As the ritual progressed, the air grew thick with tension. Shadows writhed and twisted, seemingly resisting the force of our collective will. But slowly, a serene light began to shine through, illuminating the darkest corners of the asylum. In that moment, a piercing cry echoed through the halls. It was Emma's voice, but it was different, raw, filled with agony and release. The shadows seemed to retreat from her, and she emerged from her room, her eyes now clear and lucid. "I can see them no more," she whispered, her voice a mixture of relief and disbelief. From that day on, the asylum transformed. The patients slowly began to heal, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted like a heavy fog finally clearing. Emma and I, forever bonded by our harrowing experiences, moved on with our lives, cherishing the newfound hope that had risen from the depths of darkness. But even now, I cannot escape the lingering feeling that the asylum holds secrets and shadows that are best left undisturbed. It serves as a reminder that some horrors are not merely confined to the pages of old journals. They can permeate the fabric of reality and lurk within the most unsuspecting corners of the mind.